Okay. Good morning, everybody. It's morning here. It's also 86 Fahrenheit outside. Is that actually 40 Celsius? Cranky. That's really not good. It's not good, people. Hi, greetings from Seattle, where we are in the midst of an unprecedented heat wave. The thing is, I did actually used to live in Texas, where it was this temperature sort of normally all summer, and like don't even with the comparisons because the most important thing is my air conditioning, which I have, which is super unusual in Seattle. Most people in Seattle don't have air conditioning. My parents don't, unless it's those emergency air conditioning window units that they ran out and bought this year because of this. Um, I do have whole house air conditioning. It doesn't work. It doesn't even work when the temps are in the 70s Fahrenheit. Like not even. So we will be hitting over 100 Fahrenheit today in Seattle. That is very unusual. It's not never. I grew up here. Maybe happened once or twice, but it's bad, y'all. It's not good. Um. So fine, which is what we'll get. Okay, so 40 is later today. Great, fine. Bad enough. So I have. There is one spot on my Windows PC that wants to display the temperature that I haven't figured out how to force it to do Celsius. It's going off Fahrenheit because it thinks that's what I want. So, but you know what? In spite of many years of trying to train myself to understand Celsius, I grew up on Fahrenheit. It still makes more. If I see that number, I know exactly what it means. So, so 86 Fahrenheit in Seattle right now at just after 10 in the morning. It's not okay. It's not okay, people. Oh, anyway, welcome to the stream. Hopefully, you are sitting somewhere more comfortable than me and are ready to dig in and do some shade tree research. Like that metaphor. We're doing metaphor today. Today, we are continuing the journey of our buddy Abe. Hi, Abe, who has left control key in the chat. Welcome back. On the last stream, you may recall. Yeah, Phoenix. Yes. Um, on the last stream, we dug into kind of the signature mystery in the Height family tree, which was, hang on, if it's not showing up on the screen right here, which was this gentleman right here, Abram Height. Let's go look at his tree, like so. Let's do this because we were looking at it this way last time. How's that look? Yeah, that looks pretty good. So we were here. And the big thing that whenever I'm doing research, what I'm trying to do is work on any of these blanks that are here, right? I want to find these blanks. And that's what Abe and I originally started talking about when we first chatted regarding the stream. Those of you who don't know, Abe found the stream and me via the WikiTree forums, which are awesome. And I'm planning to do I'm trying to figure out how to go about a better tour of WikiTree for you all because um, we did one. We're going to push it down the memory hole in the same place that Star Trek V and the fifth season of Babylon 5 go uh, because it was bad. Yes, it's still in the videos on demand on this Twitch, but it's not going over to the YouTube channel because it was terrible. And what we're going to do is figure out a way to actually create a guest account or a new account and show you all what it would look like if you started on WikiTree today instead of what mine looks like, which is got a lot of stuff on it that's kind of in the way of telling that story. But one of the great features of WikiTree, feel free, go play around on it yourselves, is the genealogist to genealogist forums where you can talk about mysteries and look for cousins, and it's linked back to the profiles of any people that you might be talking about. And there are so many people on WikiTree who are willing to jump in and provide guidance and advice, even if it's somebody that they are not themselves related to. There have been periods of time where I've done that for fun, but I've also gotten a couple of, literally, like a couple of the biggest breakthroughs on my entire tree have come from people who just one of them wasn't even a question I asked. One of them was just someone who noticed my tree and that I had ancestors from a particular part of Poland. And they said, hey, did you know there's a whole new, brand new, free, massive archive of marriage and baptism records from that part of Poland? And holy cow, there sure was. And I found a ton of stuff. So can't say enough good things about that community. Recommend it. So welcome over from that community, Abe. Awesome. Helping us and adding a lot of value to the stream. So Abe is no scratch at researching himself, knows what he's doing, which makes it fun for me because we can have some conversations at that level of, well, have you looked at, well, of course you've looked at this. Have you looked at this? Yeah, of course you've also looked at that. One of the edge that I have over Abe is that he's way better than me at the family search tree side of things. And I have had an ancestry account for a long time, and Abe only just got one. So I have a little bit of an edge of knowing how to find stuff on Ancestry. And one of the things when we talk about our sources is we've hammered on this over and over on the stream before, is that Ancestry, what I have found and what we discovered together on the stream is that the discoverability of records on Ancestry is currently better in a lot of cases than discoverability on Family Search. And it's a funny balance because Family Search actually has a ton of records that Ancestry does not have, and they have a lot of detail. They have a much better land records, much better probates, a lot more complete records from outside of North America. They have a ton of stuff, but because Family Search relies on volunteers to index that information. And indexing is the thing we do that allows us to then type something into the search bar and get a result back. That process of indexing to know not just that there's a picture of a printed page, but what are the words on that printed page? What do they say? Ancestry is further along in the process of indexing what records they have than Family Search is. And they seem to do a better job at maybe imperfect matches as well. That makes them a little generous with garbage, right? They hand us stuff that's imperfect because it's not a good match. But when it comes to just knocking something out and finding somebody, there are options on Ancestry that simply aren't there on Family Search. And what we found was even the things that are indexed on Family Search don't always search well. So we were discovering that I could do a search for a record here on Ancestry, hop over to Family Search, search for a record in an indexed collection that I know they have, and not get the result back. And then I could go and get like the film number and go directly to that page. And sure enough, it's there, they have it, but it wasn't coming up. So all of that to say, by bopping around on Ancestry, taking advantage of the membership that I have there already, I can help. And I think, oh yeah, and Abram, Abe's doing a free trial right now. But you can see whether there's enough on here to make it worth your while. So all that to say, here we are. Last time on the stream, we looked at, what is this, your third great grandfather, fourth great grandfather, Abram Height, and namesake, which is pretty cool, and trying to figure out that paternal line. We've also chatted about, and we'll revisit at some point, the different ways we can use DNA, Y-DNA, to try to figure out and try to solve this paternal line. But a lot of people still find that difficult. The Y-DNA did not help me crack the Hammond line. It was other research methods. Yeah, so yes, fourth great grandfather. Cool. So I think we generated some interesting leads for Abram, but we didn't really bust anything wide open. And honestly, we've really not found strong candidates, even as a hypothesis or even as a fishing expedition. We don't have candidates that we love for Abram's parents at this time. I can't remember right now off the top of my head why we didn't like the Van Buren theory as much. I think it was whoever it was, Height and somebody Van Buren, and there was a reason to kind of like it, but there was some other stuff that it was, I think, like, was there room for him in their list of children, or, oh no, you told me, you found it, the father has a will and Abram's not named in it, and we didn't love that. There are things that can cause that to happen. So it doesn't rule it completely out, but it made us a little bit less excited, especially if you have a candidate parent who has a will that really seems to name all their other children, but then there's one missing. Could be estranged, could have received their inheritance earlier. Yes, 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 could be. But it does give us, let's say, pause. So we were talking earlier this week, and we figured that what we would do is give fourth great grandfather Abram here a break and poke around on some of the other branches of the tree. And I'll tell you, this is one of the strategies that I employ to keep things moving, but also to avoid burnout. Because it can get, we call these ancestors that we don't know where they came from, we call those brick walls, right? It's brick wall, we can't get past it to get the rest of the ancestry there. And it's, of course, it's a tortured metaphor, but also kind of an apt metaphor. You can imagine continuing to beat your head against the brick wall can be pretty demoralizing for a while. So what we want to try to do. Oh, and I'll say, we didn't spend a ton of time digging into Abram's children. Sometimes the children can be a lead back to the grandparents, but a lot of times when we've talked on the stream, I talk about siblings as a lead to the parents. We do have a candidate for someone who might be an interesting sibling or cousin of Abrams, but that didn't really blow anything wide open either in terms of figuring out who their parents were. So, what we're thinking today is we'll take a break from the height line and we'll just do what I would do in this situation when we have kind of run out of ideas and we need to let things kind of sit. The other benefit of letting things sit is sometimes more records come online. So I come back in a year, 6 months or a year, and there's new stuff. But what I would do at this point is say, okay, well, for me, I'm always looking to push further back. So what I want to do is go back to the tree, and I'm going to switch to, we started out in this, but Ancestry does a thing called the pedigree view, which is instead of showing all the siblings and all of the leaves of the tree, it's only showing your own branches. And we'll go back to the home person. I did a quickie thing on here, Abe, to hide the names of the living people. I kept the original names are in an alternate name field, so they're still in there. That would allow me to bring up the tree and scroll through it without showing details about living people. So, and you can go take out birth dates or whatever if you want. So, the pedigree view is nice because it that other view you saw was really busy and you kind of have to figure out because of the way they draw the tree, like where am I looking to find my ancestors? And this one is all just direct ancestors of whoever your center person is on the tree, whatever your home person is, if you've gone to the home person, right? So we're on the what we've told ancestry is the home person on this tree. And so what I'll do is I'll look at this and see what this is telling us is we know who parents, grandparents, great grandparents. We have all of those, which is great. And we have all 16 of the second great grandparents. For me on my tree for a long time, I had gaps in the second great grandparents. And that was where the magical WikiTree volunteer helped me fill in some of those names. But I'd been working on my tree for 20, 25 years before I filled in some of the second great grandparents. So that was a big deal. And then what this view is telling us is when this little arrow is dark and filled in, it tells us that if I click it, I'm going to get more names. I get more stuff. So we thought about maybe we've been working on Abram. We thought about poking around on Caroline Crocker's line. And the reason I'm not doing it today mainly is because Abe's already done a ton of this. I think way more than is even in this tree, I think, Abe, you know a lot about Caroline Crocker's thing. And so that would take us into the realm of, I think you, oh, I keep asking you if there's a family book, and I keep forgetting what you answer on that. And there are interesting mysteries in there. There's some stuff we could go do to look. But when I open up this view, my eye is irresistibly drawn to one thing, and that is this right here. The fact that these are dotted line and they're not filled in tells us we don't know who these people's parents are. And that means that kind of if I'm looking for the biggest bang for my buck, I'm looking for the mystery, and it also tells me it's in a time period where there might be decent records, maybe. Um, anyway, I'm always kind of drawn to what is the lowest part of the tree that I haven't filled out yet, and then I want to go do that. So we chatted this week, and we said, yeah, sure. Let's look at this dude, Lucius Chester Bates. What we're gonna do? Let's go ahead and do this. We'll go to Thomas Bates here. I don't know why it always pulls it all the way to the left, especially because it won't fill the screen, won't let me. Anyway, so here we have, now what I can do is let's go see what we know. Oh, come on. Let's go see what we know about. There we go. All right. We got some stuff here. So we have a Lucius Bates. We have a headstone that has dates on it. Is that really his name misspelled on his own headstone? Or did he use an unconventional spelling? That is interesting. Okay, so I then once we decided we were going to poke around at this guy, I mostly didn't look at him this week because I'm preserving this whole illusion of, um, but like I mostly didn't look at anything here. So you're going to see me puzzling this stuff out along with you and not knowing. I do not have the baked item already in the oven from that my production staff did earlier. This is we're just diving in. So what do we know about Lucius? Okay, so Abe says, nope, they misspelled his name. Remember, this is a good pointer to the fact that the headstone and the death certificate both, if you have those are typically really good sources of information, but they have one potential flaw, and that is that they are only as good as the knowledge of the surviving relatives who created them. Because Lucius probably didn't enter into the contract and arrange to build his own headstone. I suppose he could have if he were a, thinking ahead kind of guy, but he probably didn't go to the headstone carver and say, carve this on it. So somebody in his family did, who may not have been as good of a speller, and they also may or may not have accurately known what his date of death, hopefully, right? Because it was presumably recent. Although sometimes these memorials are put up a long time after the person has actually died. Sometimes there will be a memorial marker that is not where they are buried. So you don't want to assume about those. In this case, we could go look it up. The typical case we would expect is it was put up shortly after he died. It represents where he is in fact buried. So the date of death, give or take, is probably pretty close. But just because there's a specific date of birth inscribed on it doesn't necessarily mean that that date is correct. It depends on whether the person who ordered the headstone knew the correct date. And it depends on, as we discovered with my ancestor, Harry Hammond, my grandfather, it also depends on whether Lucius told them the truth about what his birth date was. And sometimes, of course, sometimes you get markers that only have the year, fine. But when you get this amount of specificity, sometimes it's jackpot because it was put there by somebody who actually does know, like his children, and they know when they celebrated his birthday all the time, his whole life. Or sometimes they don't know, or they simply got it wrong, or the carver got it wrong. So we don't know. But it's a good clue. It's certainly better than anything else we have right now, which is nothing. And then we do have the open question, I would say, of so Abe is telling us that yes, the headstone is misspelled, and we're going to be able to look and compare. Good. We can go look on Find a Grave and maybe get a bigger. Let's go get a bigger version of that headstone. There it is. It's bigger. There it is. Yeah, see, so we can see that detail a lot better. That is lovely. You at least have the nice benefit of it wasn't carved in the types of stone that melt when they get rained on. Unless it's a replacement stone and was put there more recently. But looking pretty good. We're clicking through here. There's no details in the bio, so we don't have any other Bates descendants yet that have come in and put the results of their research Fine, that is what it is. And we have somebody spelled it out the way we would expect it to be spelled, regardless of how it is spelled on the, it's just an E for a U, isn't it? Okay. So we have Lucius C. Bates. Now, what I would be looking for, that I'm trusting that Abe has already done, but we'll glance, is we're looking at how do we know that's the wrong spelling? And we would, of course, compare it to other records that were from the time when Lucius here was alive and presumably was in a state where he could correct somebody's spelling if they got it wrong, assuming that he cared. We're in a time period in North America where spelling is starting to become much more standardized. The 1800s um, is even in handwritten records, there's starting to be more of a concept of spelling and that there is a right or wrong way to spell things. And so we can start to rely on those written records and in a way that we don't with the records in the 1700s, right? When we get back into the 1700s, I tend to say I expect a name to be spelled a zillion different ways across other records. And in the 1700s, there's kind of no such thing as a correct spelling. It's just what you can gather about how it's pronounced, honestly. Like there was probably a correct pronunciation, and we can guess at what it is, but we might not actually know. But the spelling in the 1700s, don't get overly hung up on it because it was not intended to be consistent. They didn't think of it that way, right? Okay, and so therefore also don't go correct people's spelling about things in the 1700s. Don't do that because if it's in multiple records there, you won't know which one is right or wrong, and that's not even the right question to be asking. Just let it go. Let it go. Think about how it was pronounced, move on. It's hard with computers, right? Because you want to have all those variations. So we just noticed, I clicked through to one of the census records and we saw that it was spelled Lucas, Lucus. I looked at the handwriting for a second there and I genuinely did not see anything that looked like an I. We also don't know if Lucius was a good speller himself. Um, with the rise of standardization comes the rise of people who don't spell very well. Didn't used to matter. 100 years ago, wouldn't it? 100 years before that, no one would have cared. I Dyslexia almost not a thing if you don't care how things are written or spelled, right? If you're in a much more oral culture, it kind of doesn't matter. But as we become more standardized and as computers become more of a part of our research, we care a little bit more. I will give Ancestry get some credit too for handling variations decently well in their searches. Again, I think that's something that sets them apart from Family Search. I think they do a somewhat better job. There are techniques that have been used in genealogy for forever. We talked about the Soundex, where there's a system that is, I don't actually know the details of how it works, but what it is attempting to do is to determine how a thing might be pronounced, and then what are all the different ways it might be spelled that would correspond to how it's pronounced, including if those don't look very close to each other. Like we saw with height, Haight, but also Hite, but also Hyatt, Hyatt, which even I would not have thought of. Right? And the further back you get, the more wide those variations can become. Lucius is one of them things. We don't actually know yet if it had a canonical spelling or exactly how it was pronounced. We're going by the fact that we think this is, it's I assume that's a name with Roman roots, right? I'm guessing it's probably biblical. But that's kind of, if we think about what we think of in modern day as that name, that's how it is typically spelled. Okay, so research, have not found. I keep saying Crocker book, and there keeps not being a Crocker book. Principal Headstone. We believe exactly. Okay, so the story is that Thomas Bates did several years after the fact. Put the headstone up. Nice. And then Thomas is your ancestor. Okay. So then again, we're relying on how well did Thomas know and how good of a speller was Thomas. We don't know. Okay, so, but we can look at other records. Oh yeah, so I was going to ask. So what we see here that Abe has already found is that there is a boatload of very exciting Civil War related records. So we now believe that this guy There we go. Lucius C. Bates. Ah, see, and so here they've spelled it the way we would spell it, Lucius. And very good. This is helpful. Okay, so this is an index card that indicates that records exist that we're not seeing here. This is just the, like, imagine a card catalog. Sorry, I am old enough to know what a card catalog is. Y'all are not. Anyway, if there were a card catalog, we were going through it, and it would be telling us useful things like the reference numbers to go find more information. This kind of card is really common if you're looking at somebody who had military service and filed for a pension, which we like. Pension applications can be an absolute gold mine of information about a relative. So we have some stuff we can do here to confirm. We don't know how common or uncommon a name Lucius C. Bates was yet. We don't know. Bates is worrying. I think that one is going to be pretty common. Lucius, there may have been a fad or a trend where lots of kids were named Lucius at that time. We don't know. I don't think of it as a common name, but we have to compare it to its time and place. And so I don't really know. And then I think, based on, I think this is a letter C because the handwriting of this writer is almost certainly the name Carrie, and that is also a C. So I'm going to go with that. Those are C's. We may find differently, but I think you've already determined all of that, and that looks good to me. I don't have a reason to argue with that. And then what we see on this record is a couple things. It says that his service was in the Minnesota Infantry. Great. So we now know that during Civil War times, he was coming into the service out of Minnesota. So he and his family around that time were likely living there. We don't know how old he was when he served. So, but we can wild guess that he was probably in his 20s, maybe 30s, maybe younger, right? Maybe late teens. But that gives us an idea. I would tend to assume that if he went directly into military service, that maybe his birth family, maybe his parents would have been in Minnesota in the 1860s, but we don't know. They may have been back in New York, Pennsylvania, whatever, and he migrated by himself and set up his farm in his early 20s, and then it comes time to fight and he goes, right? So we don't know yet, but we know he joined the service from Minnesota. We assume that that means he was living there. There wouldn't be a real good reason to travel from New York to Minnesota to sign up, right? That also tells us Minnesota, being not one of those ambiguous states on the border, Minnesota means he's serving for the Union. Fine. That's great. Does this actually? Yes, it does say this is a Civil War index. So we know we're looking at Civil War. Fine. And then we know that two things here that are important. He filed for his pension in 1888 for a but looks like invalid, which means he is filing probably based on having been injured in the war or having health issues that stem from his service. Or actually, I don't know if it also allowed for just unrelated health things as he's getting older and he's a veteran. I don't know what the rules were there. But we know that he filed in 1888 and we have an application and then that his pension was granted. And that when he filed, he was living in Oregon. Now, Abe already knew this, but we're stitching all of this together. We can get a decent bit of a story, right? Just from what's on this card. The next thing we know that is useful in confirming that this is our Lucius is that his widow, Carrie, filed for her widow's pension in 1895. And that application also has a number, and that she at that time is living in Oregon. Now, if we go back, my recollection of what we saw on that headstone is that it said that Lucius died, our Lucius that we think, right? Your ancestor Thomas put up his father's headstone. It says 1895 on it. His widow filed for a pension after his death in 1895. That seems promising. Let's go look. And so it's May 1895. If we go back, sure enough, he had just passed away in April of 1895. She files for her widow's pension to allow herself to keep a household of some kind. There you go. Okay, so we like that. So now that tells us that our guy, or rather, the guy who belongs to this headstone, is the same guy, is also a guy who served in the Civil War for the Union out of Minnesota. Boom, we got it. So that's good. We can then look at what is this record going to tell us? This is a records and profiles. Look at that. Neat. Tells us lots of things. So he enlists, tells us his birth date is 1825, which is not far off from September 1824. That's on his headstone. I always say give or take 6 months, so that's going to be good. And, very good. Thank you, Maud, for monitoring the chat. Love you. All right. So give or take 6 months, looking good. We now know that here in his profile, it's telling us that he was born in Connecticut. So that's useful information. And that he enlisted and mustered out of, mustered means, I believe, showed up for service, and started serving in Minnesota. Fine. Enlisted. He left the service. He separated the service by mustering out, which means he did some amount of service. It looks like he served from March to July of 1865. I don't know if that means that's and that his age was 40, so he's older. I don't know if that means that was the only time he served. A lot of people just served really short periods, so it's like end of the war, come on, y'all, let's get this, let's get the last bits done or whatever. And we don't know from this if he was involved in any battles or if he really, some people just really did just go to training and then there was no fight. The war ended real close to this time. I ought to have off the top of my head when the war actually ended, but I don't know, other than that this is the year. So he may not have even had any time to actually serve in any battles. So all of that is of interest. And if we go to view the record, yep, this is just an index. So it doesn't take us to the originals that tell us where this data is coming from. We don't know that yet. Fine. So we've done pension index. So I'm scanning this list of what you've already found, right? We now know too the 1890 veterans schedule of the census. The 1890 census itself for everybody else in the world was lost. It was destroyed. It is no more. But certain little extras were preserved in other places, and the veteran schedule is one of them. So this is a special extra census that was taken of veterans in 1890, and it gives us a little bit of information about the folks who served. So Thomas Bates. Where's Lucius? There he is, Lucius C. Bates. I should have known. There he is. Lucius is here. Does that mean your ancestor Thomas also served? Oh, well, heck, he joined in March of 1865, and then the war ended in April. Oh, good on him. Well played. Gets a pension. All right, so he serves as a private in Minnesota. Date of enlistment. Now, wait a minute. That looks like it says... Oh, no, that's March. Okay, March 14th. I was going to say it looks like it says Massachusetts, but it does not. Hey, Kim, how you doing? Welcome. Okay, so that's not the Thomas Bates. Oh. So is that Lucius's? He's in Oregon. Look at that. There's a Thomas Bates who served out of Oregon. And we have your Thomas Bates who served out of Minnesota but later moved to Oregon. Yeah, that's interesting. Do we know? Okay, so Lucius's length of service is 4 months, just in time for the war to end. And Thomas Bates, I don't have a date of birth here, right? So we don't know if they are close in age or not. But we could go poke around at the records for Thomas. Thomas Bates. 1st Oregon Infantry. Good on him. And of course, he's now living in the same place that Lucius has ended up in, Harney, Oregon, which, as you've told me, is super rural and there ain't nothing there. So 2 Bateses. It's still a common name, but I'm very suspicious, especially because it's a Thomas, right? So does Lucius name his oldest sibling after a favorite relative? I mean, we gotta like it. So, cool. Oh, Phoenix, welcome! Thanks for joining. It's good to see you. We are playing around with a viewer tree. It's very exciting. This is hopefully a blueprint for other viewers who want to do research on your own trees together on the stream, or again, giving advice that you can go use by yourselves as well. But what Abe has done here is that he's created a tree on Ancestry using a free account, and then he's able to invite me as an editor so that I can go through the tree as well and look at records that my subscription allows me to look at. I can attach things that then, if your free trial expires, you won't be able to look at, but you'll have the satisfaction of knowing that they're there. I don't know. But also the reason we did it that way is Ancestry doesn't allow, if I create the tree, it doesn't allow me to transfer ownership of the tree to you. And I have discovered over the years, as I've done some trees for friends, that if I created it and then they can't get it, and if I'm done doing the research and I want to take myself off of it, there's not a good way to do that. So this arrangement where Abe created your own tree and then invited me to it means that I can leave. You can kick me out at any time, and you still have all of what we created together. Reminder that Ancestry is your own private sandbox. So the tree that you create belongs to you and whoever you choose to share it with. It's not a shared world tree the way WikiTree or Family Search are. So if Family Search had easier to get at records that we could do a lot of this research, if it was good for that, then the shared tree and the records would be a really powerful combination. We're not quite there yet. And then WikiTree itself doesn't have its own sources of records. It's only what other people have added to it. So WikiTree is very like third level, fourth level of research. Okay, so the first thing that we've seen here is we know right now that we don't know who Lucius's parents were, but we have a Bates person in Harney, Oregon, who might be a relative, who might be similar in age to Lucius because they both served in the Civil War. And so now it's possible, because Lucius was older, that if Thomas was a lot younger, he could be I said it could be Lucius's son, which it could it be? Yeah, he could have a son that he is only 18 or 20 years older than, and then that son would be old enough to serve, right? So that could have happened. Didn't in this case because your ancestor. So thank you, Cranky, for dealing with the spammers. I appreciate you. This is why we have mods. We love our mods. Yay! Mod hype in chat, please. Please love on our mods for making the spammers go away. Because we're just such a small stream, and we don't have time for that. Anyway, thank you, Cranky, for being on and moderating. Because as you know, my chat window's over there, and I just frequently don't see it when I get to talking or looking at a record. So, yay, thank you, mods. Okay, so we know that this is not your ancestor Thomas. So it is not a 20 years younger, and father and son both went to serve. That is not our scenario here. So therefore, oh right, because Lucius was like way older when he married his later wife and had your ancestor. That's right. Okay, so yeah, I'm super curious who Thomas Bates is. Any related records? No. All right, fine. How do I? Oh yeah, okay. So I'm going to go back because there is a way. I went straight into viewing the image of the page. If I go view what Ancestry calls the record page, this doesn't tell me who else was on that page. Oh, so how do I find him? Well, let's just go to the main. Okay, sorry, I'm moving too fast. So what I did to get here is originally I clicked to look at the image. If you click on the image itself right here, it will take you to the image. I clicked on view, and then I went to view record to go to the record page. So there's a view image page and a view record. View record is going to give us a repeat of this is what was indexed. Oh, Mississippi regiment is wrong. Can I fix that? Regiment. No, it is not one of the fields that is given to me to fix. So we'll just have to let it go. It's Minnesota, not Mississippi. We knew that, but fine. We're going to let that go. Now, we have a couple of places we can go from here. I'm actually going to open this in a separate tab. So you will recall from other streams we've pointed out that. Oh, you can still see it. You can see it. Well, oh, into images in the galleries. Yes. Okay. Yes. Yeah, that's annoying. Yes. Thank you, Phoenix. Yes. Okay. So if you make a copy, download a copy of the page. You can load it back up, put it in your own private gallery. I see people, I get hints for those, and I think that must be why people have done that. Right? So you can, while you've got the free trial on, you can download a copy of that page and hang on to it. And then you still have it after your membership has expired. Yes, thank you. That is good advice. Okay, here on this record page, even though it's not underlined as if it were a link, and it's not highlighted, if you hover over it, you can see that mouse changes. It's a link. And what it is a link to, I'm right clicking, opening a new tab. What it's a link to is the main page for this specific record collection, which is specifically the 1890 census. Tons of good information about what this census is, what's in it, other information, right? Good stuff. And what I want to do here is look for Thomas Bates and living in Harney, Oregon. And that might be good enough. What I want to get, there we go. I got this guy right here. This is my guy. And here's why. Didn't get it. But sometimes when you come to the record page on Ancestry, sometimes you will get a list of things on the right-hand side that are considered possible related records. And that'll happen, especially, it's more likely to happen if it's somebody that another Ancestry user ever in history has ever researched. And if they attached this record to somebody and then they attached other records, Ancestry will offer them up as possibly being related. So I was hoping that we would get any other records about Thomas Bates. We did not, which means we still don't know what his age is, which is my least favorite thing. But then we have this other interesting thing. I'm going to click back and do this for Lucius because we know this guy. We don't have it for Lucius yet either, which means we don't know what it means. Okay, this is interesting though. It gave us a search in the pension index. Is that going to take us to the same record we've already seen? Lucius Bates, veteran. Oh, look at that. Huh. That looks like the same page we've already seen. That's the veteran schedule. That's not the index, that's the veteran schedule. What is that? Search for Lucius Bates in the Civil War Pension Index. I don't think that's what that means. I don't think it just did that. I think it just searched for him again in this thing that we are. That's not the index collection. That's this collection. By the way, though, this is a happy accident maybe because it tells us something that gets my attention. There is another Lucius Bates who served in the Civil War. And there's a Lucianne Bates if we think that handwriting is correct. I want to go look at that. One of the things I wanted to figure out is how common is that name? Because it'll be good to keep an eye out for when we might be crossing up records. Okay, so Lucian Bates, that looks pretty clearly like, that doesn't look like a U or an S to me. That looks pretty clearly like an A and an N, I think. But that doesn't mean people wouldn't have misspelled his name at times, right? So we now have a Lucy something Bates who was of some age to have served in the Civil War and was born in Massachusetts, just near Connecticut. So I can imagine the possibility of records getting crossed, and now I know I want to watch out for that. That's not the same. Oh, dang it. It's not the same guy. Then we also have, oh yeah, see, that's a mess, but, right, so the indexers struggled with this, and they called it Laxcus. Yeah, I get it. I'm not totally convinced that that says Lucius, but it might. It looks to me like somebody sort of flailed when they were writing, honestly. It might be a smudge, but it also is a little bit of a handwriting problem. So we have a C, that's probably a C. That definitely looks like a US. That definitely looks like an L. I would tend to agree that that doesn't look like a U. And who knows what that even looks like, right? So we don't know for sure. So that might not actually be Lucius. And then, but then we have the other thing that gets my spidey senses going, which is if that's an O, we're going to run into a lot of Lucius C versus Lucius O, and somebody not being able to tell the difference. So we now know we want to watch out for the possibility that we may run into those records. And Michigan versus Minnesota is another thing that might cause us to get crossed up. And since we know that this Lucius Bates migrated all the way across North America from, all the way across North America from Connecticut through to Minnesota, through to Oregon at least. Could he have passed through Michigan? Yes. So could there be crossed records there? Yes. Could they have been through similar states? Yes. So now we know we got to just be careful. Fine. That's fine. Okay, what else can we do with this guy? So this took us to, it didn't do the search it told us it was going to do. It told us it was going to search in the pension index, which I think is those little cards we've already seen. So I suspect that if I do that here, it will do the same thing. So it is a bug. Hey, Ancestry, y'all got a bug. And of course, there's a bazillion Thomas Bateses. But we are helped out in this search by the fact that Harney, Oregon is very rural and not very many people live there. So even a name like Bates, I'm not thinking we're confusing them with a lot of other people. Okay, so this Thomas Bates, all we know at the moment is exists, is a person who exists, was alive in 1890, still living in 1890, living in Oregon. So I find myself wanting to look at lots of other stuff about Thomas, because you've got a ton of stuff already on Lucius, which I haven't gone through, but you've got a pretty good look at potential first wife. But we know this is the part that you have on lock, right? Like, you know this stuff because you know your ancestor, and your ancestor knew who his mother was and who his siblings were. And I think you said that this first family was maybe a little questionable, which is fine. So the first family, and your reasoning for first family, which made a ton of sense to me, is it doesn't seem super likely that somebody's first marriage was at age 52. It's possible, but it doesn't seem very likely. And so, and it looks like you've found a ton of records of him existing and having a life in Minnesota, which corresponds to what we know about his Civil War record, which his Civil War record followed him to Oregon. So we know the Minnesota guy and the Oregon guy are the same person, and you know that you're descended from the Oregon guy, so it's all tying together. All right, so we've got all of that. Second wife and family are well known. First wife, iffy, but the likelihood that there was a first wife, I would go with, yeah, I agree with you. I think that's pretty high. And given that we've got this guy with this life in Minnesota, and then some of these census records presumably have his wife Anne, yeah, Anna, and child Henry. And then, do we know who the John Henry is? Because that's also another interesting loose end that we can trace, right? And then you've got, right, and then you mentioned this Betsy, we don't know who Betsy is. And unfortunately in 1870, the 1870 census doesn't tell us how they are related to the head of household. So it'd be super cool if it said sister-in-law, right, or something, but we don't know. Okay. And then 1880, by this time, no, he's still in Minnesota, and he's with his new wife because he married her in 1877, and you have the record for that. Okay. So all of this ties together. But what I'm curious about, open up a new tab. Actually, the reason I do the screen this way is so we can do a split screen. So let's do a split screen. So go to Ancestry. What let's do is a couple things. Let's go look at, do we have, oh, you don't, oh, where do you have his, okay. Oregon census. Right, so because he hadn't moved yet by 1880, the 1890 census is missing, but also relies on that veteran schedule, which we've seen. And then he dies before 1900. So you don't have a traditional federal census in Oregon, showing him in Oregon. But and then the reason we know about Thomas living in Oregon in 1890, same way we know about Lucius. So this one All right, so let's go look at this record collection. Tab here. And notice how, so this is the Oregon compiled index. This is another one of those things that we might use to patch up the fact that the 1890 federal is missing. And it's telling us that the Oregon compiled index for 1890 is drawing from the Oregon 1890 veteran schedule. So it's basically the same information that we already saw. I would expect that if I go to this record, let's pull it over here where we're putting Thomas, and I look up Thomas Bates, and I say lived in Harney County, Oregon. Let's see what else we get, because this is it's an index that spans some other collections. Thomas Bates, yep, so same guy. And unfortunately, it doesn't tell us anything new about him because it comes from that same veteran schedule. So what we're looking for is, are there any birth dates, anything like that? Nothing yet. But let's go do another thing. Remember this index card here. And then we also have Civil War records and profiles. So why don't we actually, let's see if we can just shortcut to those by using Ancestry's military search. Maybe? All right. Thomas Bates, Oregon. You told me that Lucius lived in or that parts of your family lived in more than one place in Oregon. Let's see what we got for Thomas Bates in Oregon. Oh no, wrong war. Okay, fine. How do we get the right wars? That doesn't help me. Oh look, pension index. Yes, 1st Oregon Infantry. We knew that. All right, let's go to that. We're going to open it in a new tab so we can keep looking down the list. Arkansas and Oregon. Interesting. We're going to look at it. Master index. There's probably a way to zero in on Civil War more quickly. This is Connecticut. So Thomas T. Bates is Connecticut and is not going to be the same guy probably. Sorry, I had to yell at the dog. Sometimes that works. Hey, I like this one. 1st Regiment Oregon Infantry. Okay, so I like these. Now, I'm having fun with this dude that we still don't know if he's related to you or not, but there he is. Thank you, Cranky. I'll tell Pasha you said so. All right, what do we got here? What we have here, Thomas Bates, Oregon Infantry. Now, that matches what we saw in the veteran schedule. All right. The veteran schedule said that he served in the 1st Oregon Infantry. So this is cool. Okay, good. That's going to point to some other stuff we can look at. And then we see that he applied for his invalid's pension and presumably was granted because I think that's what it means, that there's a certificate. So he applied while still living in Oregon in 1890. Fine. So that all matches. So that's this. This is our guy. Then we have, this is the Arkansas guy. I am dubious about this guy, but I'm looking at him for completeness, right? 1890 in February in Arkansas. So this guy was still living in Arkansas, although that is February. I'm going to say no because this is someone who served out of the Arkansas Infantry, which is also the wrong side of the war, I'm pretty sure. Arkansas is one of those states that was in the middle. It's pretty sure. But this guy also. Okay, so this is not our guy. The Thomas J. Bates from Arkansas is not our guy. But this guy is Oregon Territory. And so now that's pointers to a couple of things. All right. So we still don't have anything that kind of busts it open and tells us a bunch of stuff that we didn't already know. It's still telling us things that we already knew, which is helpful to confirm that they're the same person, but it's not as helpful to tell us anything more about him or to tie him to Lucius other than that they are both named Bates and they live in the same spot. Okay, but what I want to do, I'm going to give some more free advertising to Ancestry and their services. They should really give me sponsorship for this, but they don't. It's just me saying it's a useful tool. What are you going to do? So, Oh, looky. Fold 3 is Ancestry's military-focused site. And so we can come look here and do, I don't spend a ton of time here. People who have a much stronger military background in their families will know this site a lot better than I will. But let's go look for Thomas Bates. Civil War Union named Thomas Bates. New York, Pennsylvania. So now I can go say, okay, United States. Yes, but show me states. Give me states. Nope, not yet. Okay, fine. We're going to scroll over here. Pennsylvania, New York, Illinois. Surely. Oh, wait. I see it. U.S. states. See all. Give me Oregon. Because I bet there's not a bunch of other ones in Oregon. There's Oregon. 5 records in Oregon. Give me Oregon. I totally feel like Steve Harvey on Family Feud. Give me Oregon. Okay. We have, Army, 1st Oregon Infantry. Pretty sure that's our guy. So that's that guy, 1st Oregon Infantry. Good. So we have a couple of lovely records here. This is good. A couple. They're not all him, but there's a few. All right, so let's look at, this is interesting. Okay, I was hoping it might be a human-generated memorial page, but I think it is a computer-generated memorial page. Yep. The owner is the Fold 3 team. So this was auto-generated. That sadly means we don't have a relative of Thomas Bates's who is lovingly maintaining this memorial in his honor that you can DNA test, because that would be cool. We're not there yet. Facts. 1st Oregon Infantry, Civil War Union. This continues to not 35. What is that? Other 35. Oh, I hope that's his age. Please be his age. Please be his age. Please be his age. Please be his age, because then he's really close in age to Lucius. And I want that for him. Okay, Pennsylvania's not our guy. Civil War Service Records Union, Oregon. I'm hopeful. Everybody cross your fingers crossed in chat. All right, here we go. Do we have more? Yes! There's pages. There's detail. There's detail. We might get things here. Okay, so now, I could also be doing this for Lucius. We'll come back and do this for Lucius, okay? Because that might also give us information. But I'm very curious about our friend Thomas here. Okay. 35 years old! Yes! He was born in Connecticut! He was born in Connecticut! Yes! I love this. Okay, this is great. This is wonderful, right? That just brings him a little closer to what we think we know about Lucius. And I love that for us. So he was born in Connecticut 5 years after our Lucius was born. This is awesome. Now, let's see what else we got. Oh, wait, that's not what I wanted. I wanted this. So here, Salem, Oregon in 1864. No, that is not how it's pronounced. Nice. So, for those who are interested in really getting into the details, sick in hospital, December 30th, 64. Yep, see? It's going to have a lot more details about the nature of his service and what he did. Transfer the U.S. mustering officer from Mustering Info Service, assigned to Company C, 1st Oregon Infantry. So cool. Okay. Camp Russell. So we're learning a bunch of stuff about his service, but the thing we're excited about is how close in age he is to Lucius, and that they ended up in the same county in Oregon, and that they have the same name, and that Lucius named his son this same name, right? How great is this? You can also, you may get into stuff like sometimes you'll actually get their pay records, which is very exciting. September 65 on extra duty hospital nurse. People with better military research skills than me are going to know better how to interpret a lot of this. Do for tobacco. Yeah. See, little bit. Fort Vancouver, 1865. I wonder what was going on in it. So he's actually serving in Oregon at that time. I wonder what was up then. So exciting. Okay. Oh, this has stuff on it. All right, we're going to make this big. Let's make this big. Declaration of recruit. Can I turn this? Yes. Ooh, look at that. I, Thomas Bates, desiring to volunteer as a soldier, I'm 35 years and 3 months of age. That's going to get us pretty close to when his birthday is. Never been determined, blah, 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 blah. So this is him. I wonder if that's witness. That's probably his signature. How cool is that? That's pretty cool. All right, I can't. We got to go all the way around, everybody. We're doing a barrel roll. There we go. And then that's the index, Thomas Bates. We're not seeing any indication, by the way, of a middle initial, which is good because some of the other Thomas Bateses who served had a middle initial. So now we know we can maybe kind of rule those out. Born in Hartford County in the state of Connecticut, age 35 years, occupation farmer, volunteered. So exciting. Okay. So we got a bunch of information about this guy who might be totally irrelevant because he might not be related to us at all. How exciting is that? Okay. I saw an L and then I was all excited, but it is not. It is not to be. Okay, same thing, basically same thing, basically same thing. Oh, look, they examined. Oh, it's a physical exam. It's his entrance interview. He's been vaccinated against the smallpox. Yay, vaccinations. Oh, I love this. Okay, this is great. This is awesome. Okay, so this is awesome. So that's his whole record. So that's that whole record. Fine. Seems like the obvious thing we now want to do, though, is we want to go back here because we want to do a different thing, obviously, right? We want Lucius Bates. Let's play the same game. Oh, Oregon, but what we want is actually not Oregon. No, that's not how it's pronounced. It's pronounced Oregon. We want Minnesota. Minnesota. One, really? So what we see, there we go, is there are other Lucius Bateses. So there's Lucius O. Bates in Michigan. Lucius O. Bates, private. Lucius C. Bates, Minnesota. Other Lucius Bates, South Carolina. Okay, how we doing here? Confederate, not what we want. Confederate, South Carolina, not what we want. Michigan, not what we want. Michigan, not what we want. That's the other dude. Michigan, Confederate, South Carolina. And then they're giving me Jefferson Davis. Why? 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 Oh, because he talks about it. Okay, fine. Because Lucius Bates is named there. Fine. Alas. Okay. So the bummer here is we don't have, the only one we have is this one, right? That's the only Minnesota one that we saw. I am going to go back and look. Lucius C. Yes. This is dependent. Huh? I don't know what that means. Okay. 1st Minnesota Infantry, same thing. So this is the same guy. Zoom out on this a little. Zoom out on that. Different index card, but similar index card. Veteran pension certificate. Oh, certificate. Okay, fine. That's his pension certificate. I don't quite know what it tells. I don't quite know how to read this one. It's not the slam dunk that we were hoping for to find Mr. Lucius Bates here. So here's what I want to find. Let me see if I can dig in further. What I really wanted to find was his pension application, is what I want. I'm going to start over from the beginning. Yes. So yes, these types of records exist. It's amazing. Okay, I want to find pension applications. That's what I want. I'm going to just go with high up, top level Civil War, not getting too hung up on which side. Civil War, publications. I want pension applications. Not all the pension applications are going to be here. Okay, Minnesota. Why don't we go? Civil War Service Index Union, Minnesota. Let's look in this record. Let's look in here. Lucius Bates. We may. Oh man, you're killing me. What about just Bates? Bates. Right, because we can scroll through Bates' name. Bates, Myron, William, Nathan, William, Amarin, Lucien. Whoa, that's it. First Company D, First Infantry. Yes. Look at that, Lucien. Huh. But that's the same company. Remember, his index card said Company D, 1st Minnesota Infantry. This is the same guy. There's not more cards. It's just this card. We now know we might find him under the name Lucien. Because this is our guy. Let's save this to him. Hopefully this will work. Can I do that? Oh, please. Yes. Okay, good. Lucius Chester Bates. Where'd you get Chester from? Is that something Thomas knew? And then the record date, we're going to go with 1865. Hello. Okay, 1865. Lucien. Wild. Okay. Okay. We go back to his profile, which, let me see if I can get this to, that's not what I wanted. Do that. There we go. Now we're back on Lucius. If I refresh this page, we should see, yes, so it's in here now. And you can click through and that'll take you over to Fold 3. Now, this is where I'm the, again, totally uncompensated, unsponsored advocate for Fold 3 to get full access to all the records. You have to have the full-blown membership, and it gets you newspapers.com and fold3.com and ancestry.com. And this is, I spend a lot of time on this hobby, and I am fortunate to be able to afford memberships, and so I get the memberships. So, anyway. Oh, the photos of him. Okay. Oh yeah, well see, yeah, that's clearly there was not a lot of accord about what his name even was. And he may have changed it to a variant. He may have liked, or enough people misspelled it as Lucius that he got tired of it and just went with it. Or maybe he just went by Luke in his regular life and nobody cared what the full name was, right? Let me see if this command still works. Boom! So there you go. That's my list of memberships that I have and use. The first one, the Ancestry one, is the one that's relevant today that we're using. And it's not cheap, and I do this because I love it. And I want to try to leave enough breadcrumbs for all of you. Like, all of this is stuff that has always been available to researchers, but before it was compiled and put online this way by Ancestry and thrown behind a paywall, you would have to write to the National Archives with enough identifying information to get them to send you back paper copies. You, as far as I am aware, can still do that. And yes, I do have ethical feelings about the fact that Ancestry is kind of the sole provider of a lot of these things that should be public records that should be available to all taxpayers. I do have feelings about that, but given that this is where it is, I've given a shout out before on the stream to an organization called Reclaim the Records. You can find them on, I found them on Twitter. It's a small group of folks that are invested in using Freedom of Information Act requests and some other laws to try to force the government, the US government, to open up access and make records that should be public, that are part of our national heritage, make them available to the public and not sell them to private for-profit companies. So Even if you think, hey, it's reasonable to charge people a fee for access because it takes time to maintain the records, that's great. That doesn't mean we want, as taxpayers, to outsource that to for-profit companies that are then making money off of what should be national heritage that belongs to all of us. So though I'm giving you shout outs to all kinds of good stuff that Ancestry can do, I will also shout out to Reclaim the Records keeps winning battles in court that are clobbering some of these Ancestry paywalls and allowing those to be broken down so that records can be made available to all of us. That to me is the future, right? That's a good thing. So, yes, exactly. Access. So, if you can, either just by word of mouth or by getting involved or monetarily, if you can support the Reclaim the Records efforts, everybody wins. So we have now learned that we want to look for Lucienne Bates. And so what if we then went back, no comments or annotations, that's fine. Oh, so now we have this, we'll have one of these auto-generated memorials. What I'm curious about is, does it have any other sources on it? No, it only has this record. It's only this record, okay. But if we go back home and do another search, we go to Civil War, and we search for Lucienne, do we find anything else? Because it looks like, at least in Minnesota, that's what they thought that's what they thought his name was. Now remember, this also brings us back into potential conflict with the Lucienne Bates that we saw on Ancestry in the I think it was in the 1890 census, who served in Massachusetts. And Massachusetts, Minnesota, we're going to get handwriting, we're going to have problems. Okay, so we have, this is the one we just looked at. We already see that one. We also just looked at this one, so we've seen this one. And then this is the other guy, the Massachusetts guy. This is a Massachusetts service record, and so is this. And he's serving in... Now, if I wanted to go wild with this, I could say, gee, what if he served in Massachusetts and then he moved and he served again? No, we know he didn't do that because you have records of him in Minnesota before the war. So no. Okay. So, we want to make double sure. These are all the other guy. So these first three are the other guy, the Massachusetts guy. These two are our guy, the Minnesota guy. But they don't, this is just a placeholder and this is just the one page. So we don't have the full service record. Civil War Service Records. Let's do this. Civil War Service Records. Union. Okay, but let's go to, can we go up? All right, we're going to browse. Civil War Service Record. Civil War, Civil War, Civil War. Civil War Service Index is what we looked at before. Civil War Service Records, Confederate, Union, Union, Confederate. As you know, what I'm going to do, aha! Civil War Service Records, Minnesota not included. So that's why we didn't get it back. Okay, fine. Fine, I'll play your little game. Civil War Service Records, Minnesota. Why doesn't Fold 3 have it? Minnesota, Minnesota. We've got a couple of places we can look here. Let's look here. Minnesota Historical Society is what we want to see. We like that. Minnesota. So we want to go look at other possible sources. Military service records. This looks to be a library that is in Minnesota. Yep, Minnesota Historical Society Library. So this would be a place we might go in person. Unclear, restricted, whatever. All right, so it's not super clear to me that we're going to be able to look at this online, but that one might be able to get either in person or photocopy sent. I'm going to go back. Okay, so that's that. Service records would give us more of that detail, but see what we might get is like the enlistment. What else might we get for Lucius? Although the stuff we got for Thomas was stuff that we already knew for Lucius, right, out of the service record. It just adds some color. Okay. All right. Why don't we do, let's do one more thing. Minnesota in the Civil War. Minnesota service records. Okay, aha. It's in the family history library. Might just not be indexed. So that could be probably scanned through. Index to pension applications. Index to pension applications. So the other thing that we want to try to do that I haven't found readily available online, like anywhere, but when you can find the copy of it, and it may be from the National Archives, is oh, okay. So we're not confident of him in Minnesota before. That's fine. The pension. Sorry. Pension, the actual pension application, which I have mostly not found those online except from people who got the printed copy from the National Archives and then put it online themselves. But the pension application typically they were required to provide enough information about themselves and their service because of how the record were kept, right? To talk about like, why do you qualify for a pension? And oftentimes it will include other biographical information that we wouldn't otherwise know. This is much more true for the Revolutionary War than even for the Civil War, because the Revolutionary War was complete freaking chaos and militias and stuff. And so they, in order to give a Revolutionary War pension, the federal government demanded more information to prove that your service and the nature of your service. And so you'll get these very elaborately written descriptions of the service that are handwriting, and they paid somebody to write it if they weren't literate or whatever. So that was a thing. But I don't actually know if they're as richly written as in the Civil War, where there were the cards that had a more bureaucratic record of their service, but it's still going to have some attestations that you're going to want, right? So I would recommend figuring out how to get a hold of the pension application. And the starting point we want to use for that is we have the index card, right? So we have this index card for Lucius that has his application number and his widow's application number. Both of those might have information about his descendants. Probably wouldn't say who his parents were. There'd be no reason for him to do that. But it might talk about his dependents when it's talking about who financially relies on him for support. The widow might talk about who his heirs are, which might give pointers to that earlier family if he had one. So these numbers off of the index card would be how you would go to the National Archives and get something like that. The certificate number, remember, we found over on Fold 3, and it was just another index card. So it was not earth-shattering, but I would definitely want to look at the applications. And then we also want to figure out, is there a comparable service record for Minnesota that might have the forms that he filled out when he was enlisting, that would have the similar thing to what we saw for Thomas, with like date of birth, and maybe it would have his county of birth, right? Because if it said Hartford County, then we would celebrate. Where did you get Tariffville from? I'm curious. Yes. Carrie applied after he died. Yes, the widow's pension application will be a separate set of documents, and it will have different information that would also. And of course, yes, you're thinking correctly, because we don't know who Carrie's family is either. So it might give some information about her and where she came from. Was she younger? Yeah, she was a lot younger, right? Oh yeah, she's a lot younger. So it's probably her first marriage. One of the records I found, the first family. Oh, okay. So if it turns out to be accurate that this is the first family of the same guy, right? If we think that that's the same guy. Um so you were saying this was sketchy, and you weren't, yeah, right, you weren't sure this was the same guy, but I mean, of course I like it, right? Oh, look, Ancestry did a neat thing. They put this in the list of facts, and it's in the time order. It's chronological. It's in the right chronological order. So we can see now this is his service record. This is why I think that record looks good. Is you have him here. You got the whole postmaster's thing. Do you feel pretty confident that that postmaster is the right guy? It seems like it would be, right? Yeah. Um, but since you, oh, and then 1870, and then here he's still with wife Anna, right? And then you have, we don't know when Anna died, right? You don't have any records about what happened to her. But you have 1870, and then this is, she's in here, this is twice. Okay. I'm gonna delete this one because it's a duplicate. There we go. And this one is better because it has the 4-part city and then the post office is listed separately. So I like that way that it's done better. And then what is this? Oh, is that the marriage? It is. Wait, whoa. Huh. Well, now that's weird, isn't it? The Hartford Times published an article about them getting married in South Carolina. Incorrect. Okay, good. Good, 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 good. Good, 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 good. Thank you. That can happen. Well, Graniteville S.C. Oh, I see. And then that's the record that you're pointing at. That's Tariffville, of Tariffville. And then she's of Belleville, Mass. It looks like. Okay. All right. And then does that match? And then it says Miss Ann Allen, which would suggest that this is her first marriage. Now, do her census records say born in Massachusetts? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. So that matches the marriage record, saying that she was born. And then, right, so Granite, okay, fine. Where's Graniteville? It's in South Carolina. Yes, yeah. I mean, but it's published in the Hartford paper, and it's two people that were from Connecticut and Massachusetts. So we don't know why they were down there. We don't know why they're down there, but it does seem like they have roots back in. And then this is saying, oh, and this says she was born in New Hampshire, which what is now New Hampshire was part of Massachusetts for a while. So it is possible that literally both are true. That sure does. I mean, that looks plausible, right? Oh, and then their son is born in Wisconsin, which is on the way to Minnesota. Sure. Okay, so we're trying to kind of piece together. I would agree with you that this is very plausible as a first family. Part of the reason that I yelled a little bit about the marriage in South Carolina is that over here in Fold 3, you will recall that there is a Lucius who was in, there's a Graniteville in Connecticut. Oh, my bad. Okay. Granite. Which makes sense that there would be. Graniteville Historic District in Waterford. Yes. Seems pretty clear. That seems like a better candidate. And that thing that we're looking at here, the newspaper extractions. I don't even totally understand what that thing is, but I run into it a lot. Is clearly this is somebody did a transcript. Somebody with a very old school typewriter, as far as I can tell, transcribed the. So this was reported in the October 27th issue of that paper. So the obvious thing would be to go to try find the original paper, because this is just an abstract of what the article was. So if we could find the old copies of the Hartford Times from 1850, and I don't know that those are online, those are probably in library archives that you can't touch them without gloves or at all. Might be microfilmed though. So finding what that actual article actually says would give you a lot. But yeah, I would agree that that looks pretty good. That looks like them. And then you've got your Henry Bates. a potential first son who was born in Wisconsin. We only see him in the 1870 census, but oh, he's in the 60. Let's go attach him. We saw him in the 60. He's just, his name's weirdly spelled or something. Okay, let's go to here and get this attached to him. We'll go to the record page because this is the same kid. Oops, wrong person. Oh, John Henry's his actual last name. Okay, that's just a laborer probably, right? Come on, Henry. All right, we'll attach this to Henry. And it confirms what we saw before. Henry Bates, yo, right here. Pretty much the same. Pretty similar. When in doubt, I tend to take the record that is the closest to when he was born because there's like literally less margin for error. And then I'm going to take this out and just say Winona County. Actually, no, I like, this is Utica here, so I'm going to go Utica. Utica, Minnesota. Go Winona, Minnesota. And then I might go ahead and take that and just fill that in the description so we're not losing anything, but we still get good searchability on the places. Oh, the other thing I want to do is I want to make him standardized on Wisconsin, USA, please. Right, that's just me being a little bit pedantic. Okay. Utica, Utica, Utica. Oh, yeah. Let's do, oh, we have it. This is in there again. Okay. And we'll go ahead and, same thing as with the mother. We'll go ahead and delete that. That's a duplicate. All right, neat and tidy. So here's the thing. I think we saw that he wasn't in, is he not in their household with them in 1880? So in 1880, they have Lucius and Clara, and now we have, new family. So that's frustrating because we don't have the crossover, what we would love to see. That would make our lives so much easier, right? We would love to see that Henry is in this household and he's also listed as a son, right? So we have just the new family. We'd love to see a crossover between the two families so that we were super confident that they're the same families. Phew. Dr. Yeah, see, that was the thing. We saw military records for Lucius Bates in South Carolina, which makes me suspicious. So, okay, so here he is with new family, new wife, new kids. But the thing is, in 1880, young Henry here is 26. The likelihood that he's moved out and has started his own household is pretty high. So I wouldn't expect him to be living with his father, right? And the father's new family at age 26. He's off doing whatever his thing is, he be doing it. So why don't we go look for, okay, hang on. Before I go wander, see now I'm doing this. I'm wandering on. I wanted to go do a specific thing because I think we have, the Thomas Bates guy is tantalizing enough for me that I want to add him as a brother. So we don't know nothing about Lucius's father here, but we're going to assert that his name was Bates. This assumes that Lucius didn't change his name after, right? We're making some assumptions that that is his, Lucius, if that is your real name, right? We're doing that. But, now we can, because we have a father placeholder, we can now add, let's just add a brother. And we're going to go Thomas Bates, question mark. Oh, help, he was 35 in 1864. He was 35 a year earlier, so he's actually only 4 years different, right? So he's 1828, 29, 1829, about 1828 or 9. And he was born in Hartford County, Connecticut. Save that, see what we get. So now we go here. Remember that my technique there is that I use the question mark to indicate I don't actually know that this is a brother. And even if we find that he was a relation, we may find that he was a cousin. So we don't know for sure. But I'm putting him here because it gives me a place to put the records. I can go in and edit his relationship to Lucius later if I find out who the relatives were. But what I'd love to do is see if we can get anything about Thomas that would help me understand who his parents were. No, there's not an obituary. Why would there be an obituary in Knoxville, Tennessee? Why? Why? Dubious. This is only going to be an index. It's not going to be the real article. It is a real article. All right. All right. Give me something. Thomas Bates, a veteran of the Civil War. Huckleberry Springs. So he died in, this Thomas Bates died in Tennessee. But, holy goodness, that's the same guy. He was born in Hartford County, Connecticut. Says he lived all over the place, and he died in Tennessee. Huckleberry Springs, Tennessee. And we don't know how he's related to the people whose home he died in. But this is the same guy. Company C, 1st Regiment of Oregon. That's the same guy. We're saving it. Oh, wait. That's not what I want. Hang on. Wait. I'm doing it wrong. It gives you the option to save it to Ancestry. You don't want to do it from there. You want to go backward to here to the records page and say save. You want to do it from here. Otherwise, it's weird. About 1828 in Hartford County, Connecticut, which we knew. He had, yes, we knew he was living in Oregon. It is pronounced Oregon. We knew he was living in Oregon in 1864. And he died, oh, yeah, hang on. He died, so this is the 17th of May. Died this morning, 17th of May. Whoa. May 17th. 17th May, 1910 in Huckleberry Springs, Tennessee. Which is not a real place. It's not a real place. Okay, hang on. Knoxville, Knox County, Tennessee. Okay, so then I'm just going to force it. Huckleberry Springs. That's the same guy. The fact that he wanders around, right? Like he left Oregon. We really were excited about that he lived in Harney County, Oregon in 1890. We were very excited about that. Oh, which I'll go ahead and actually just put that in because that might, I'm fishing for it to give me that hint. 1890. Harney, Oregon. Sorry. Typing today. Stop. Harney, living in the city of Harney. Okay. So we know that because we know that record exists. I'm trying to get Ancestry to give it to me for free. I don't have it yet. Okay, so that, now, we opened that record in a new tab, which means our search is still back here. So rather than do another search and spawn more tabs, I'm going to close these extra tabs. And now we're back on search. Okay, that's wild. So that also means that could be the same guy, right? If it says, if that article says he lived all over the place, then he could be in Los Angeles in 1892. Could very well be. So we'll pop that open. And that also could be the same guy, right? August 1829. Inmate at the National Home for Disabled Volunteer Soldiers. Maybe iffy. Union soldiers combined. Yeah, that's our guy, right? This is our guy. Oh, I didn't open it in a new tab, but that's okay. All right, so this is our guy. We know this. He's 35 in, yep, all right, that is fine. That's that same record that we paged through on Fold 3. Now, the reason we're digging into we don't even know if this guy is related is that we want to see if there's any chance of finding out who his parents were. See, this is why I open them in new tabs. It's because going all the way back to get to the search page is mildly annoying. Okay, so we're holding off on these two. These two are the same guy as each other. We just don't know if they are our guy. This is our guy. This is our guy. That is not our guy. Don't think so. Oh. this is a Thomas Bates in Tennessee, potentially born in Connecticut, in the correct age. Better, I like this better, right, for our guy because we know that he had a connection to Tennessee. Died in New York, 1896. Not our guy. 1910. Nope, not our guy. Born in Connecticut. Born in Connecticut. Born in Connecticut. It's just it's a common enough name. We can't just take all of them, right? None of those others seem. That Los Angeles is probably the same guy as the Los Angeles guy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. In a soldier's home. I would just be curious why, if he checked himself into a soldier's home, why would he, more than 10 years later, be living somewhere else? It's possible, right? Possible. Then this is all just that. None of that is any good, right? Because we now know that our guy died in 1910. Might be worth it. Wait, 19, okay. Might be worth it, actually, to go back. Because we added some new facts that we can add to the search. All right, so we've refreshed. We now have his death date. If we now take that into a new search, start looking for daughter and son-in-law connections. Okay, see, look, we got it. We got him. Okay, this is our veteran schedule. Here's his find a grave in Knoxville. Knoxville. Go figure. That's the Oregon Census, so we know that. Mexican War. Pension Index. Yep, that's our guy. We know that guy. Compiled service records. That is not our guy. That is the other one of the other Thomas Bateses. We have that one already. Okay, so then we get into some we don't know. Could this be our guy? Sure. No idea, right? Because here he's living as a laborer in somebody else's household with no clue. Could that be our guy? Could be our guy. Maybe our guy, maybe our guy. In Oregon, but this guy was born in Illinois, unless that's wrong, which it might be. Maine. I was hoping to find, let's say, maybe the 1880 census would be cool. Let's attach some more stuff. So that's the we don't know yet. This is the same guy. Because this is the whole record that is why we think he's relevant in the first place. Is he's living suspiciously close to Lucius Bates. All right. So we've got this here. We've got his, oh neat, Thomas Bates, Oregon. Yeah, okay. It's a veteran's headstone in Knoxville, and it says Oregon. So neat. You've got some very mobile relatives, right? How cool is that? Tennessee. It says he died on the 16th. That newspaper said he died this morning, and it was published the 17th. Give or take a day, obviously, I don't care, but I'm curious which one is the right day. This one comes off of that same veterans schedule, so it doesn't tell us anything new. Just add that so it's on there. And then we have, and then this is the pension index. So, same thing obtains here. We have never in all of these records have we seen any indication of a wife or a widow at all. Now, he may have had a wife who predeceased him, and therefore she's not around anymore to qualify for a widow's pension. Given that he's living with unknown persons when he dies, seems like he's not living with his wife, right? So that's plausible. Either never married or she predeceases him. His pension application off of this card might give us that answer, because it might say, and I have a wife to support, because if she was still living at the time he filed. What I want to do, hang on, I want to go back and get the date off of here. Oh, it was 1890. December 1890 is when he's living in Oregon. Oh, it's right here. Filing date, 26th of December 1890. For some reason, Ancestry doesn't pull that forward to this residence field, which is where I want it. So he's living in Oregon at that point. and it's just himself. So we do have the application number that could be looked up by whatever magic it is that one finds pension applications, and then see if there's any kind of any other biographical information about this guy. The bummer is, oh, so let's do one more. Let's hack that search one more way. What we'll do is we'll force it to give us census. Thomas Bates. Ah, yep, that's him. That's our guy. Right, because the newspaper article said he was living with Mr. and Mrs. Pettit. So that's definitely him. 1910. We're going to have trouble if that newspaper article is right. Marital status single. That doesn't necessarily mean he never married, because a lot of times I would expect if he were widowed that he would say widowed, but it's not a guarantee. The other thing that you'll get that is often wrong is that people who were divorced. Oh, why would this say Michigan? Don't say Michigan. That's just I'm ignoring you. I don't care. People who were divorced or who just straight up abandoned their spouses will sometimes say widowed or single, because that's a lot more socially acceptable than saying divorced or deadbeat. So just because it says single doesn't necessarily mean that he was single his whole life, but it might. It might. Our challenge that we're going to have with Wandering Thomas here is that if that newspaper article is correct that he lived all over the United States, we are going to have trouble knowing for sure whether a given record actually belongs to him or is a different Thomas Bates. So, and what we would dearly love to find is something more definitive before his Civil War service. This takes us to, we are now with Thomas. We haven't done as much as we can do with Thomas, but we're at the same place with Thomas as we were with the guy we actually care about, who is Lucius here, which is we've got records for him in the Civil War. For Lucius, not as many as we had for Thomas, but enough. But we don't have strong information about what he was doing before then. Even this idea of he was married to Anne or Anna and had a son Henry is a guess. So we're now to the point where we did all the easy, quick and dirty stuff for Thomas, and I kind of don't want to get way out on a limb on Thomas because we don't even know if it's relevant. And the stuff that we're finding for him, even if we solve the puzzle of is this guy in Los Angeles the same Thomas, even if we nail down that guy in Los Angeles, that's not getting us any closer to who Thomas's parents were, which doesn't get us any closer to who Lucius's parents were. So I'm not going to go, though it is fun, I'm not going to go try too hard to solve that particular puzzle yet, because I'm reminding myself what actually helps get us to the outcome that we're looking for. The outcome we're looking for is Lucius. Okay. Or, as we now know, Lucien. Let's add an alternate name. Lucien C. Bates. No, we're not going to make it preferred. We're just going to put it in there. You won't be able to see it, but if you go to the filter and ask it for name and gender, you get, oh, and then this one's just a blank alternate, so I'm going to nuke that, so we don't need it. It's just a duplicate. So we have Lucius and Lucien. As far as I can tell, having an alternate name in there is kind of, from Ancestry's perspective, kind of useless. It doesn't seem to spawn hints or help in search, which is annoying. All right. So as we're wrapping up, so we're getting close to noon, and I'm having fun, and I think that a day will come when I will do some of these maybe a little bit longer sessions. Ooh, neat. Ooh, neat. But it's going to be hot today, and I got to go weatherproof the house, so I'm not going to stay on too long. Interesting. Ooh, land office record. Where's that? Minnesota! Yep, let's grab that. Canada? No, Connecticut. No, yo, Connecticut, dude. That's a misprint for Connecticut. Hello. Why would, no. Okay. Minnesota. Don't know if that's the same guy. Don't know. Wait, what's that? Wait, what are you? Hey! Yay! That's a record for our guy. That's our guy. This is our guy. This is our guy. That's our guy. It's totally our guy. That's the guy. We're going to look at those. Hello. Okay, first of all, land office records show him acquiring, either purchasing or getting a homestead of land in Winona. Issued in 1859. What is that record going to tell us if we do that? What does that tell us? It's a patent. Okay, he patented, patent or patent, I'm not sure. Let's see. Huh. What the heck? Look at all that. Maine militia. That's pre-Civil War. We don't know which war that is. But look. Maine militia, and who are Polly and Simon Fuller? Are they just random witnesses? Or do they matter? Come on, image. Gimme. Come on. Simon Fuller. Oh, I wonder if he's just, okay. Can we make this bigger? What does that do? Okay. Apparently not. Hang on. Oh, bigger. Okay. Favor said tract has been. What does that mean? Okay. I don't know I don't know enough about land patents to know how to read this. Oh my gosh, it's the president. Okay, Act of Congress, bounty land to certain officers and soldiers who've been engaged in military service in the United States. In favor of Polly Fuller, widow of Simon Fuller, private in Captain Grafton's company, Maine militia, War of 1812. 1812. That's way too early for Lucius. Southeast quarter, something, 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 township 106, range 9. Township something, something, range 9 matches Utica where he was. So yes, this is the same place. Formerly subject to sale at Faribault, now blah, 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 containing 160 acres. The said warrant having been assigned by the said Polly Fuller to Lucius C. Bates, in whose favor said tract has been located. I don't know what that means. Lucius C. Bates as assignee as aforesaid and his heirs, and to his heirs. So this is land being granted to him from whoever Polly and Simon Fuller are. We don't know why. So I think what we're seeing, so we know it's a tract of land in the part of Minnesota where Lucius then, almost immediately after that, is then living, which is near Utica in Winona County, Minnesota. And I think if we go back and look at that 1860 census, I think we will see that it is Township 106 of Range 9, or similar, or close to it. So that's probably talking about the same piece of land that the 1860 census was living on. So how Lucius came to be in possession of said piece of land is that it was a bounty land that was granted to the veteran Simon Fuller, whoever that is, for Simon Fuller's service in the Maine militia, which we have no idea if that has anything to do with Lucius, right? Yep, Townsend. Yep. Right. So we don't know if they're related. We don't know why they would be giving that land, but Polly is granting off that land to Lucius. It doesn't say sale. It doesn't say he paid for it. Now, I would be immediately suspicious of, is that a family thing? But I also don't know if they would need to do that or if it would just be inheritance, right? So maybe it's because they're not related. I don't know how this works. I don't know how this works. I don't know how land grants work. That would be a thing for me to go get educated about, right? Learn how land grants work. So, but we now know how Lucius came to have some land in Winona County, Minnesota. Fine. And that he came into possession of it in 1859. So I can now cancel this print. I just cheated on that to get it to go to the right screen. Related documents. Any related documents. Why? Because they're the same place, right? But not the same names. Patents, surveys. Huh. Neat. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. I don't know what those are. That is really neat. Okay, so here are things we don't know. We don't know that he's related to Polly and Simon Fuller at all. And we do know that he did not serve in the War of 1812 in the Maine militia. We do know that because he wasn't born yet. Okay, but that's pretty cool. Okay, we can just close that tab because we got there from a link here. So that link is preserved in this record. We could go back to it if we need it. So that's our guy, right? It is at least the same guy who lived in Winona, Minnesota all that time. That's clearly that guy. We assume that that is the guy who moved to Oregon. And those two Luciuses are tied together by the Civil War record that says he served in Minnesota and filed for pension in Oregon. That's how we know same guy, right? So we have tied all of that together. We know now, sure enough, look at that. Township 106, Range 9. Aren't I glad I cut and pasted that there? Oh, no, wait, that's you. You did that. Haha, Abe did that. Abe left it in there. I am going to do it this way. Because later on, this is a you'll thank me later thing. Later on, if we're trying to do things with the map, this Utica is going to be map friendlier, and so we've got the extra details down in here. If we want to try to auto map it based on what that location is today, but that's clearly the same guy. Standardized, standardized, standardized. We have, do we have 218? No, we don't. We have 21870s, fine. And then you've got, oh, okay. You've got a bunch of these things. Oh, so then the other thing we wanted to do, all right, close that, is off of the search, we found military records. Military records. So we'll wrap up, maybe go a little bit past noon, finishing up these a variety of military records. And we want to just read what they say. 1857. That's well before he signed up. Wait, 57 is before he had the land. Inhabitants of Winona City, something something, County of Winona, 1857. Minnesota State Census. Man, I love a state census. I really do. We're gonna do maybe another. Okay, it's only one page. There's an Iowa state census that they go across 2 pages, and you have to know to look to the second page because there's more information on the second page. But this one is just one page because you can tell that this facing page is the same as this page, same layout, right? They don't carry across. Where is Mr. Bates? What's he doing? Oh, I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting that that is A Bates, isn't it? And it's the right age, but it very clearly says born in Canada. And it very clearly says C.C. Bates and not L.C. Bates. I was hoping it might be a handwriting issue, right? But that, though interesting because it's a Bates in this spot that Mr. Bates went to, that our Bates went to. So that's another one who's kind of interesting in the same way that Thomas was interesting, right? But not enough of the there's enough off there that I don't like it for our guy. I don't like it. And it may be too early for him to be there. Yeah, I think it's a CC. Okay, but the next three are going to be Civil War records. Oh, look at this. This is so fun. Okay, we got to look for Lucius. If you see the line number, be sure to yell it out in chat so that I will. There he is! Lucien! Yep. So that I will just not notice it. Okay, so now I'm scrolling down so I can see what the heading says. Okay, muster out. Oh, we knew this. Yes, muster out roll. Company D, 1st Minnesota Regiment, which we knew is the right one, commanded by, at Fort Snelling, commanded by Colonel Mark something something, by the president at Fort Snelling, Minnesota, 29th day of April, 1861? Doesn't that look like a 1? Surely not. 5. They've written over it. It's a 5. That's a 5. Serve for the term of 3 years from the date of enrollment, unless sooner discharged. The 17th day of March, 1865, which we knew, when mustered in, to the 14th day of July, 1865. That matches when discharged. Okay, so this is our guy. Down here, thank you for putting them in roughly alphabetical order. We like that. Lucien C. Bates, age 40. Mustered in, oh, sorry, there we go. Joined March 14th, just in time for the war to be over. From Rochester, Minnesota, by the secretary, I guess. Period 1 year. When mustered in, same day, Rochester. Last paid due from enlistment. Hadn't been paid yet. That would be a reason to join at the very end of the war, wouldn't it? Get paid. I bet they were raising, I bet the salaries had gone up, the wages had gone up. Traveling from place of discharge home, number of miles, 116 miles. Subsistence, number of forage. Wow. Amount for clothing in kind or money advances, probably his uniform, right? Value of equipment, valuation of horses, 33. He got a horse? And there aren't any notes. Alas, there are no notes. But this is our guy. It's our guy. That's our guy. Military. Do we already have a military here? We do not. Fantastic. Look at that. 116 miles away from his home. So quick check is Winona, is Utica 116 miles from Rochester or close enough? Curious. All right, so we attached that one. That's our guy. Here's another one. It's going to be very similar. Bates LC down there. Is there a Bates LC up here? No, so it's this guy down here. All right, this guy. Bates, that's an L. LC, private. Whereborn, Connecticut. Age 40. That's our guy. Occupation, farmer. Enlisted, 14th. That's our guy in Rochester. Yes, by the captain. Fine, 1 year for a period of 1 year. Eyes brown, hair auburn, complexion fair. Height 5'8", same height as Thomas. Yay! How cool is that? Mustered in, same day. Bounty paid, $33.33. Due, $66.67. Bounty due from enlistment. Credited to the town of Crooked Creek, Houston County, Minnesota. I don't know what that means. I wonder if that means that he owed money to, I don't know. I don't know, but it's our guy. So I'm just going to attach it. It's our guy. Same, 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 same. We'll get that on there. Okay. Righto. 60 miles. Huh. 60 miles. Interesting. Because it doesn't actually say where he came from. It says where he enlisted and then the distance, but it doesn't say where distance to where. All right, we're going to close that. And then this one going to be similar. It's alphabetical. Nope. Bates, Elsie. There we go. Line 5. Born Connecticut. Date same. Yep. Brown Auburn Fair. 5'8". Love it. Mustered in Rochester. You can see a lot of tape damage here. This is why don't put tape on things. Don't put tape on things, people. Same dollars due. Value of clothing. Where credited. Or else was he just physically, that's where he was located when they get, I don't know. All right. I don't know how that worked. That'll be some research if you're curious about how that worked. What is the deal with Crooked Creek? Oh, maybe that's where he was coming from. I don't know if there's a Crooked Creek in Minnesota. If that's 116 miles from Rochester, then it is a place that has some meaning, right? Okay. All right, but now we have 3 military records all tied to his date there. It doesn't tell us a ton more, right? But it does give us a little bit of a picture of, I still don't know if he ever got paid, but he qualified for a pension. So that's not a bad deal. All right, so that, I think, I'm going to say that brings us to the end of the stream for today, and it's getting toasty in here. I'm very tempted. All right, so then, oh, well, I suppose you already saw that somebody else has a tree, and you must have pulled some stuff from there. So finding out where they got that, unless you know that person, finding out where they got that information would be probably useful. You probably already know that. What is that? C.A. Bates. Oh, that's probably one of the children, huh? Okay. Oh, there's Lucius Bates's around. No, we don't want that. There's that Lucius O. Bates. We gotta watch out for that dude. And then how well. Sometimes I will do that. I'll put both names in the name field just to force it in the search. Like I really want you to look at that name in the search. U.S. Civil War. So I think we already had this, didn't we? Let's just make sure. And I think you already had this. The Winona Daily News article about him being postmaster. I think you had that. I keep promising to be done on the stream, but I keep seeing things. Lucius B. Bates. I wonder if that's a typo. Alrighty, so let's take us back to where we were. Here, right? Is this attached? No, let's attach it. Couldn't hurt, might help. We'll just attach it to the same military fact that we already had. That'll be good. And then let's look at this. I am pretty sure this is the thing you already had about the postmaster. It's on here somewhere. Wait a minute. 1973. Why? All right. I'll let you sort that one out. You know what's going on with that. Let's recap. Let's talk about where we've been. Because we've got a few possible next steps. And so some things that like might be worthwhile to do the next time we dig into this family on the stream, in fact, is what we didn't do. So we spent a good amount of time chasing the military records and trying to get a little bio on the maybe he's related Thomas Bates. We spent a bunch of time on that. Bad news for that is that we don't know any more about Thomas Bates than we know about Lucius. We actually know a lot less about Thomas than we know about Lucius. And we didn't get the jackpot like I got with my Hammond family of I don't have your parents, but I have your sibling and I have their parents, right? Didn't have that. So we did not have the big sibling moment, alas. I would think the next step is I want to know what happened to Henry. If Henry, and I want to see if we can nail down, get really confident about whether Henry Bates is the son of this guy. I think it is. Seems pretty clear to me that it is. Um, I think the guy in Minnesota, we have a decent picture of his life in Minnesota. The guy in Oregon, we know is your relative, and we have enough information from the Civil War pension records to know that Oregon Lucius, and Minnesota Lucius are the same guy. So I think that then building out that fuller picture of his life in Minnesota is worthwhile because we know that's your guy. I am inclined to like the marriage to Anne Allen, although knowing that there are other Lucius Bateses kicking around, it is possible that that particular marriage, even if we go with Anna and Henry being his children, because they are there in the census in Minnesota, even if we go with that, that particular marriage might be a red herring. Um, I'm always curious if they marry in 1850, but the only child we know of is 1856. That's a long time. So I would wonder what happened. However, in this case, we would have it handed to us that they were moving. And who knows if they had pregnancies lost or babies died on the way. So maybe that holds. By the time they get to Minnesota, there's only the surviving child. We have here Graniteville something. I suppose you didn't put it in because we don't really know which Graniteville. Graniteville. So we'll do this. Graniteville, but in or South Carolina. So those are the kinds of notes I tend to leave to myself on these things. Oh, and let's attach that newspaper extractions here. What that's going to get me is that now when I look at that marriage, I at least know why I think that's his marriage. Right? Yeah, and so you left it blank because we don't know which state. That's totally logical. So it is possible that that entire marriage is just not our guy, but we don't hate it. So the obvious next step would be go really deep on who is Anne Allen. Who is she? Where's she from? And I would assume this one is meant to be Massachusetts. So let's put Massachusetts here. Massachusetts, USA here. And New Hampshire, USA down here. I'll go ahead and standardize that bad boy there. Okay, Mass and New Hampshire. Utica, it's fine. We'll clean that up another time. I would be looking hard at her and figuring out. So we also know it said. So here's the thing about the marriage recordy thing. It didn't say born in Tariffville, and it didn't say born in Belleville, Massachusetts. It said of. And what that usually means is that that is where they were living at the time they were married. So what I would be doing is adding a residence fact dated 1850, and I would say Belleville. Let's see if there's a Belleville, Massachusetts. There isn't. If I could spell it, would be better. There's not one spelled that way. Belleville, Mass. Nope. Negative. Bell, Mass. No. Belleville. Might be bad. South Carolina. Negative. Nothing. Maryland. No. Belleville, USA. New Jersey. Any place that would make sense. Very dubious. Jefferson County, New York, maybe? Very dubious. Very dubious. And the reason we're zeroing in on Belleville is because that is what it said here. Am I reading that right? I think those are E's. Right? I think. Those both look like, could be Bowlville, could be Ballville. I don't think any of those is a place in Mass. And I think that says Mass. Feel pretty good about it. Tariffville, Connecticut. So we also know about Lucius. We can go back and add this. So we don't actually know. She's living somewhere in 1850. What we know about Lucius is that 1850, it thinks he's living in Tariffville. So why don't we go ahead and add that? Residence fact, 1850, Tariffville. That may or may not correspond to where he was born. And then we can add that newspaper thing as a source so that we know that I didn't just make that up. Or more to the point, somebody else's ancestry sheet didn't just make that up. So now we know we have a source. We may be misinterpreting that source, right, in any number of ways. But that then gives us the ability, let's just do one more look for the census. If that 1850 census record Chester Bates 1850 census is what I want to look for, because he's of age by then. He's old enough to be getting married. He ought to be listed by name if he's in a family member's household. Where are you? Lucius or Lucien. And it's interesting that that marriage record says Lucius. Lucien. Lucius or Lucien. If he really was living in Georgia, for God knows what reason, that would be a reason they could have gotten married in South Carolina. Oh no, I'm telling you. But we are torturing it now. Yes, we are. I mean, Albany, sure. I don't know. Didn't we see a sketchy looking census and I said we don't know that that's him? I've lost it. Might be in here somewhere. Anyway, I would be looking around. I mean, we could even do something crazy like go to direct to the 1850 census, and we could see if there are any Bateses listed in Tariffville. Bates, Tariffville. Because it says he lives there then. We don't get anything specific to Tariffville, but this is going to give us an idea of what Ancestry thinks is close by. Oh, it was Massachusetts. There was one in Springfield. There was a census in Springfield, which is, I went to college in that area, close. It's not. It's a lot closer today with cars than it was back then without cars, but it's not far. So obviously tons and tons and tons of Bateses. That doesn't help us all that much. Oh, I would be curious about Henry Bateses in that area because if that is his first child, he named his first child Henry. Maybe that's interesting. Where is he in Springfield? Where's the? Oh well. Bates in Springfield. Springfield, Mass. I thought it was Springfield. Or close enough. Francis. Oh, it was Thomas. Oh, wait. Nope, that's female. Fine. Okay, so on that note, places I would be, to go back to the summary, what I would be looking at next. I would be trying to find him in the 1850 census. I would be trying to find that article and see if we can read the original and say, why on earth would they think he was in South Carolina? And figure out, is that really our guy? And if he wasn't in South Carolina, then where was he? I would be trying to do some more biography on Anne Allen to figure out where did she actually come from. Where is that place that the newspaper said she was living? Which parts of that are typos and which parts of that are real? And then I would be looking for Henry Bates, both before and after. I mean, not before he was born, obviously, but I would be looking for Henry Bates after his father remarries. And of course, trying to find a death record for Anne Allen. We would have to guess that she dies between, depending on what this record is. Okay. We got to guess that she's going to be passing away between 1870 when she shows up in the census and 1877 when he marries Carrie Clerk or Clark. Stillwater, Washington. Okay. So somewhere in there, no reason to think it's anywhere other than in Minnesota that she dies. So I would be looking there. Um, the other thing I was kind of a little curious about is that I vaguely recall from watching Henry Louis Gates that the rules about homesteading, there were some rules that if you didn't improve the land or if you didn't actually improve the claim and make a farm and do stuff, that you might lose the land. Um, I'm not convinced that that was a thing they actually did to white people. I'm pretty sure that was a pretext for taking away land that had been homesteaded by black people. But be that as it may, I wonder if there was any kind of expiration date on that land, or if we can find any record of him selling it, or can we find any record of Henry taking it over or any of the other relatives taking it over? Because why would he, if he'd been a farmer for decades in Winona, and his wife passes away, fine, but wouldn't he want to bring his new family to the farm he already had? Or was he sick of farming and he was changing careers and all that? Like something happened there that made him change his style of living quite a bit. And now we also know, as we're researching all of this stuff, we now know to look for records for both Lucius and Lucienne, and we know that Ancestry doesn't necessarily swap those for free. I'm actually going to do us a favor here, and I am gonna just plug him in here, Lucien, because I think that's gonna make hints spawn better, and it's gonna make it quicker to search on the two variations of the name. And I'm gonna standardize this date because it's bugging me. Oh no, I gotta standardize the other date too. Hang on, or standardize the place. Grand. Is that not two? Maybe it's 2 words. That's it. It's 2 words. There we go. So that's where we're at. So once again, we have spent, it turns out that a whole 2 hours was not enough to bust through one of the brick walls that you've already researched. Imagine that. Yeah, this stuff is not, we don't get well, there are times when we get a ton of instant gratification, but when we are looking at a nicely researched already tree and we're trying to hit brick walls, remember that the brick walls can take years to get through, and that all of us have brick walls in our tree that we have not yet gotten through at all, in spite of those years. So I've given some clues as to how we might tackle a brick wall when we've done all the obvious stuff already. This guy is probably too young to be listed by name in the 1840 census. He would have been 16. So he probably would not have been the head of household in 1840, which means he's in that exact spot we hit with a lot of our other conversations on the stream, where Abram Height is in the same situation, right? He's either barely of age or not of age in 1840. And so we're not confident about finding him as head of household. And if the whole point is that we don't know what his parents' names are, then we don't know who to look for. So this is a time period where we lose a lot of folks. But given us kind of a start as far as places to look. I still think Thomas is interesting, and so when we get bored of researching Lucienne here, we could switch over, spend some time on Thomas. It makes the brick wall pounding a little bit less tedious if we can at least kind of sort of change around the people. And then there are records that are likely to not be online that may help us, and we talked about a bunch of those. The pension application itself could be useful. That newspaper article that index is referencing would be useful. And I would look for land records, that site that we got to, the Bureau of Land Management site, it might be worth figuring out who were those people that assigned the land to him, and did they have a reason other than he was a neighbor and a nice kid, right? So was there any relationship between those families, even if it was just acquaintances from back in Connecticut, right? Anything that would give us more about the records back in Connecticut. And then I think we have pretty good indications that Hartford County is the place to look for Lucius Lucien there. So also digging back through, this is a time period where, for whatever reason, the records in Connecticut get very spotty from about the mid 1700s on. Um, Before that, they're really, a lot of them are really, really good, but there gets to be this place where, like, I thought I was going to get it for free in New England, and I didn't, right? Because the records are not great there. But obviously, if we could find a birth record, that would be pretty amazing. Um, I would be guarded about that middle name Chester, because I see you got it from a family source, but we've already seen that there's some confusion about what his first name was. So I would take with a grain of salt the full spelled out middle name. I will usually just go with an initial until I get documentary proof. And I might put a note in the description that says we think this stands for Chester, but we're not sure. The only reason I say that the pro of putting it in is, if for whatever reason he ever did that thing where he switched off which names he used as his first name, Ancestry is going to give you anybody who has the name Chester in their name. That can be good if you want more records. It can be annoying if you're flooded with records for people named Chester that you know are not yours. So you can try, excuse me, you can try either way to get it to give you different records and different hints. Whew, that was fun. Hope you've enjoyed. Let me catch up. Yep, find an actual place in Connecticut. Live on land. Yep. So, yes. Right. Died while the second family was fairly young. So maybe did they know, right? What information did they actually know correctly versus not? Yep. And then do you have his probate records from when he passed in Oregon, and his, I suppose it wouldn't have strictly been guardianship because they would have gone to their mother, and then did she remarry? And I'm guessing you know all this. So, cool. With that, I am melting in here. Let's be done for the day. But thank you so much for those of you who joined and hung out. It was great to be able to do another stream. Those of you that are watching on the video on demand, thanks for watching. Remember that, oh yeah, remember that we have a YouTube channel. Let me get that in here. YouTube. We have a YouTube channel that you will be able to go see all of the full length of these videos. They are on Twitch in video on demand for a period of time, but then they expire. So the ones that are older are now over on YouTube. Everything that I care to keep and not throw down the memory hole is going to, so this one is fine. It'll go over there. So when you hear me talking about on a previous stream, we did blah, 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 that's where those are. You can go look at those for yourself. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. Please join us on twitch.tv/basketcase. That link is in the description. And you can check us out most Sunday mornings, many Sunday mornings. We're here for a couple of hours poking through these things together. If you, yes, you are interested in help with your tree, you can contact me. Leave a comment on Twitch, send me a direct message. If you are seeing me on any of the Twitch-related Discord channels, servers that I'm a member of, hit me up. I love researching new people and hitting up new mysteries that I haven't already beaten into the ground for myself. And hopefully all of you can learn something along the way by watching me do that. So until then, till next time, which should be next Sunday, good luck, happy hunting. Let me know if you have any questions. See ya. Bye.